Okay, let's get ready to rock and roll. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. Gotta get ready for this. Gotta get ready for this recording for all of you guys. Gotta do my best. Gotta give you my best. So, today's episode is going to be all about wedding drama. Every once in a while, I love throwing out just a full episode of wedding drama. It is just, there's so many stories out there. So many stories with wedding related stories. Drama, pettiness, just complete jerks out there. Bridezillas, groomzillas, there's both out there. But I'm fascinated with the amount of wedding or engagement stories or just anything related with that out there on Reddit. So today's episode is going to be all about just crazy stories, wedding stories on the world, from in the world of Reddit. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the sheer audacity of some of these people. Okay, so the first story we're going to get into is from r/best of Redditor updates, originally placed on r/am I the a-hole. It is from March 7th of 22nd. My goodness, 2022. It's been a week for me. And the title is, Am I the a-hole for demanding, that's in quotes, demanding my girlfriend to change her dress for a wedding? So this happened during this weekend. Me being in my early 30s and my girlfriend in her late 20s. I was invited to a wedding ceremony of a colleague and could bring someone with me. I asked my girlfriend that I've been dating for about a year and if she would like to join me, and she was really happy because she apparently loves weddings. Since we don't live together, I drove to pick her up so we'd have some time to spare before the ceremony. As she comes out, she looks really beautiful and has obviously put in time to fix her hair and makeup. She's also wearing an off-white dress that was rather ornate. As she got in, I told her that she looked stunning, but I asked if she could change to a different colored dress for the ceremony. I'm not one for etiquette by far, but one of the few things I've heard elsewhere is that you should not wear white to a wedding unless you're the bride. She became pretty upset and wanted to know what was wrong with her dress. I said that it would be inappropriate to wear a white or off-white dress unless you're the bride, and that it's the wedding law or something. So, trying to be lighthearted about it. She rolled her eyes and said that it was an outdated tradition about women and virginity, and that when her friends got married, everyone wore white, and that it's not a big thing anymore. I mean, I feel like if someone wore white at my wedding, I don't even think I wouldn't have even realized it, because that wasn't like my main process and everything and making sure everything went right. I just wanted to marry my best friend that day. And that's all I was focusing on, was just literally getting through the day. And I wasn't really worried about everyone else around it. There could have been problems that I have never known because I wasn't really focused on anyone other than my husband. So it depends on the person. If there's people that are like really wanting the perfect wedding, yeah, that might be something that they will definitely be on the lookout for. I know some people that are like all focused on the wedding, but they're just like, I do not want white at my wedding. And I don't know if, and that's the thing. I could care less. And I feel like a lot of people out there could say that they could care less if they're really wanting to have a chill time and marry their best friend. But if they are kind of wanting their wedding to be more of a spectacle thing and have fun, but also have it be like the way you've always wanted it to be pictured, I don't know. The thing is, the way that you're going to be happy is getting out of everyone else's business, even if they are doing something you don't like, and just focusing on yourself and the loved ones around you. So, anyways, it's an outdated tradition, yes, but it is still very much present for other reasons too. It's not really for the virginity aspect anymore. When, you wear white, you're as pure as because you all get it. I'm just saying, it's more of the bride is the spotlight, so that's where you should keep it on her because it's her day. You were invited to her big day. Let it be her big day and make it kind of her spotlight. And don't try and you don't want to be on edge or on the rocks with a relationship with the person who's like the main event. That would be bad. Okay, anyways, I told her that I don't know what the dress code is for the ceremony, but since it's not saying all white clothes, I still thought she should change to another color, but not white or almost white, because my colleague was getting married and we had no idea how she felt about it. My girlfriend became really upset and told me that I was trying to control what she was wearing and that it was abusive, which honestly made me really upset and hurt. That's like jumping the gun there, for sure. I said something along the lines of so like, frick, well, you shouldn't go to a wedding with an abuser then. Oh, whoa, okay. So he just like threw that out there. And then I told her to F off and get out of my car. She began to cry and wanted to apologize and give me a hug, but I just told her to get out. When she did, and there is an edit, literally right there in the middle. Edit, to clarify, we never left the driveway by her home. I did not drop her off in the middle of nowhere or anything like that. So he's just saying they weren't in the middle of driving, and then he just like, get out of my car, walk home. And she was in the middle of nowhere. They were still in her driveway. They hadn't even left when he was like, can you please change? And she was upset. Okay, so both of it. They maybe they're a little both intense, abrasive. I mean, she literally just said, you're being an abuser. And he's like, well, I don't think you want to be with one, so get out. I'm a little confused by all of this, but this maybe they just aren't meant to be together. They've only been with each other for a year, so maybe this is like the first confrontation that they've like snagged, really. That's crazy. I drove off and she called and texted me a bunch. I answered, I don't want to talk right now, and then turned my phone off and attended the ceremony. The bride was the only one that was wearing white, so I feel as if my gut feeling was the right one. When I got home, my phone had blown up by a text from her and her best friend saying that I was being inconsiderate and controlling and should apologize for my behavior. I've vented to a few friends, most of them agreeing with me, but some have said that it was an a-hole thing to tell her that she could not wear her dress, because it had nothing to do with me. I feel as if I was in the right since it was my colleague's wedding, and it was better to be safe than sorry. But I'm also not sure if I was being an a-hole about the situation. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Okay, so in this case, I literally would just say, everyone kind of sucks here. I would put this down as an everyone sucks here. No, you're not being abusive. You're not being controlling. You literally were just saying, you stated your reasons. Hey, I think they don't want anyone wearing white other than the bride. So you might need to, I'm surprised her being in her late 20s, like, I would get it maybe if she had never been to a wedding before, but she said she loves going to weddings. So she's been to weddings. So I'm really confused how she thinks wearing white to every wedding is good. Maybe it's just that one wedding she did because they were okay with it. I don't know. If it's someone you don't even know personally, then you shouldn't take the risk. You should play it down. He, on the other hand, I don't like how he was, then again, I'm only getting one side of this, so I don't really know how she said it or how he said it. Either way, she said that's being an abuser, and he's like, well, you don't want to be with abusers, so get the F out. And that's a little sudden and a little much. So it's like both of them took like a hard left when they could have just eased into this conversation a lot easier. So to me, I'm going to say you're not the a-hole, as in you're not an abuser that she stated, and that you wanted her to change out of her dress for the reasons. You are kind of an a-hole with how you responded to her. Even though she said something out of line, you could have handled it better to make it a little bit less tense between you guys now, because you guys are like, if you're not broken up, that's a really awkward thing to come back from. So I say everyone sucks here. You could have handled that better, OP. So some relevant comments. Absolutely not the a-hole, and your girlfriend sounds like an attention-seeking nightmare. Literally, everyone knows that you're not supposed to wear white to a wedding. Even if she magically had not heard this rule, the second you mentioned it, a reasonable person would have changed just to be safe. She clearly wanted to be center of attention, create drama, and when you wouldn't allow it, she created drama another way. I would honestly end this relationship unless you want to end up married to one of those, I don't know what JNMILS means. I mean, I don't know JN, but MIL means mother-in-law, but I don't really know what this means. Who wear white to their sons. Oh, one of those. I don't know what Gen N, but I'm guessing just the crazy mother-in-laws who wear white to their son's wedding, and then they act mystified when the bride gets upset. OP replied to this saying, "Thank you. I have been thinking about ending the relationship, partly because I feel like I'm too old for what it is, especially if it's drama. I also think if she's legit think I'm being abusive, then I wouldn't want another person to feel that way about me." Yeah, like I said, this is all coming back. If you guys haven't broken up or hadn't that moment, I would say this is a really awkward comeback from, because literally she just accused you of being abusive and controlling, and you really didn't help with the situation of telling her to get out of the car. Even though it wasn't in the middle of nowhere, it's still just awkward. You guys were in a fight. That was kind of like, you guys got to bounce back from that. Either you guys need to really sit down and talk about how to handle things properly. But I honestly think this is just your wake-up call. Maybe this is not the relationship for you. She handled things weird. You handled things weird. It might not just go well after this. And you guys are still well off. You guys could find someone else that maybe matches a little better. I feel bad. If you want to give it a go, you guys really need to talk things out. If you don't, then it's probably for the best. But next comment is, not the a-hole. You don't wear white to someone else's wedding. When her friends, this is in quotes, when her friends got married, everyone wore white, and that's not a big thing anymore. And then it goes on to say, that's for her friends and people she knows. And this is what I was talking about. This was for a colleague of yours wedding, aka strangers she doesn't know. Exactly. She knew those other people. She knew that they didn't care that they wore white, that it wasn't a big deal. And like, that would be for me. If someone wore white at my wedding, I wouldn't care. If they knew me and they're like, oh, I don't think it should matter if I have something with white in it. No, I don't care. I honestly didn't even look at other people's dresses. I can't even remember. Someone might have had even like a little champagne dress, and I would not. It was like, I think a cousin married. Yeah, it was like the cousin's wife, my cousin's wife, and she looked beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I didn't care. I loved it on her. So, like I said, anything that's even remotely close, I don't really care. As long as it's not like a floor-length bridal gown. Why would you wear that? My wedding was outside anyway, so it was hot. You wouldn't have wanted to wear that. So, but it goes on to say, also in quotes, my girlfriend became really upset and told me that I was trying to control what she was wearing and that it was abusive. It goes back to saying, your girlfriend was out of line. She can wear white off-white to other functions. Asking her to change for one freaking event was not abusive, especially when your reason for why was valid. And that's what I'm thinking. She jumped the gun to say those words for something that you had a good reason to ask her to change to the other dresses. You were just thinking for what's best for your friends or colleagues' wedding. And I think that's really valid. So it's really weird for her to go to a stranger's wedding and be like, it's okay. I did other ones. It's fine. I don't know. This is why it's so strange. So strange. In quotes again, she said something along the line. You said something along the lines of, F, frick, well, you shouldn't go to a wedding with an abuser then. And then I told her to F off and get out of my car. She began to cry and wanted to apologize and give me a hug, but I just told her to get out, which she did. And they replied, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Glad you enjoyed the wedding. So it's funny just because, yeah. Yeah. What is it? F around and find out. OP responded to this saying, thank you for the input, and it feels good to hear that I was not out of line in asking her to change her dress. I was honestly a bit shocked to see her come out of her front door almost looking like a bride herself. Ooh, see. Yeah, no, I think you were good with going with your gut. Now, I just don't like how you said, oh, I don't think you should be with an abuser. I mean, it's the truth. Honestly, that's the thing. I could say, like, oh, you could have been a little bit nicer, but then sometimes the things you say, is it a little a-hole-ish? Yeah, but sometimes it needs to be said to get through to the person's head. It's just weird. There is an update the next day this post was made. I never expected this thread to get this many replies. I'm incredibly thankful for all of you that have reached out and commented. And I really, really appreciate that you've taken the time to tell me. My girlfriend found out about the thread. Oh, those never go well. Don't know if she knew my handle or just found it, and we talked over the phone. She apologized and I apologized, and it was a pretty good talk. She asked if she could come over, and I said no. And that it would be best for us to go our separate ways. Oh, okay. So he did go along with that. She got upset and asked why I wouldn't even try to work it out. I basically just said goodbye. And then she said I basically said goodbye. And then she said my dick was small, which actually made me laugh after what had been a pretty mature conversation. And then she hung up. I'm pretty sad about it. She really made me feel happy, but as many of you have commented, if this was our first disagreement, so this was their first disagreement, I was wondering. And she called me abusive. How would future disagreements look? I was hurt, but if she did think I was being abusive, it would be the right thing to do. And if she did not think I was being abusive and said it anyways, I would not want to be with her. So anyways, I think things worked out for the best for us both. Again, thank you all, and I will keep trying to respond to all of you, but there are a lot of messages that I won't read. Oh no, he says there was a lot off messages, but I read through them all. Okay. You know, I was wondering if he was going to stay with her or not. I don't know. I figured like, oh, if she really went back saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that after reading it. But he went ahead and said no. That is true. If this was their first disagreement, that is a huge red flag that she just off the hand, calls him abusive. And over something for one time to tell her to change. That's crazy. So yeah, I don't know if she's had good relationships before or she's just really doesn't understand relationships, but my goodness, if not everything's going to go the way you want it to go. So you guys are going to argue and fight, and if you're going to call him abusive for something that's like a valid argument, yeah, that's not right. That's not right at all. Okay, so our next story is from 5 months ago, and it's from the subreddit r/Charlotte Dobre YouTube, which I love her. I love her stories. I love her channel. I love how many wedding stories she gets. It's amazing. I love it. So I usually go to her and I scope out some of her stories because she got some good ones in there. Okay, so this title is, Am I the A-hole for getting my sister uninvited from our cousin's wedding because she tried to wear my original wedding dress? Let me start by saying I, 27 female, got married last year. It was a small, intimate ceremony with just close friends and family. My wedding dress wasn't designer or extravagant, but I designed it myself with the help of a local seamstress. It had deep personal meaning, hand-embroidered blue flowers that symbolized my late grandmother, who basically raised me. It wasn't about the price tag, it was about the thought, the symbolism, and the love sewn into every detail. It meant a lot. Now, here comes the problem. My younger sister, we'll call her Alyssa, 24 female. We've always had a weird, exhausting relationship. Alyssa has made a hobby out of copying me. Not just a little sister phase, like full-time impersonation. Clothes, haircuts, favorite bands, hobbies, even my handwriting at one point. Ugh. I can't imagine having that same. Like, I've had this with a cousin. And it was when we were younger, but I mean, to me, I was a little bit older, so I was like, oh, this is a little annoying and everything. I remember it, everything. But I can't imagine having that same issue as an adult with like a sister or cousin. So that's, yeah. Okay. Clothes, haircuts, favorite bands, hobbies, even my handwriting at one point. Growing up, my mom thought it was adorable. She just wants to be like her big sister. Except it wasn't flattering. It was invasive and relentless. I couldn't have a single thing for myself without it eventually being duplicated and passed off as her own style. To make it worse, Alyssa somehow always got praised for it. Oh, so that would annoy me too. My mom would coo about how creative she was when she copied my art projects or wore my outfits a week later. And when I'd call it out, I was too sensitive. Even when Alyssa flirted with my actual boyfriends while I was still with them, my mom had said, "You're overreacting. It's not that serious." Oh, see, no. This is serious. This is so serious. Oh my gosh. And you can already tell who's the favorite. You can tell there's favoritism in this sibling. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Our dad cheated on our mom for years, and she still stayed with him. So yeah, the bar for respect is subterranean in this family. And just to top it off, yes, she even tried it with my husband, the man I married. Before we were engaged, when we'd been dating for a few months, Alyssa started joking with him a lot, overly flirty, touching his arm constantly, saying things like, "If you weren't taken." Oh no. And, or, "You better treat her right or I'll have to swoop in." No. I'd be like, "Get your hands off of him." Always just barely towing the line so she could claim it was harmless. He told me about it, and honestly, that should have been the moment I cut her off completely. But my mom convinced me to let it go again. She's just teasing. She's always been playful. No, she's always been disrespectful and enabled. Fast forwarded to this month. Our cousin Rachel is getting married, and we're both bridesmaids. Everyone's excited. It's going to be a fun weekend. About a week before the rehearsal dinner, Alyssa sends me a selfie of her dress she's planning to wear to the dinner. All smiley and proud of herself, I opened it, and for a second, I'm confused. Then my stomach drops. It's my wedding dress. I don't mean similar vibes or a similar color. I mean, it's my exact design. The same neckline I sketched by hand, the same embroidered blue flowers in the same pattern placement, the same silhouette, hemline, fabric choice. I literally worked with a seamstress for months, making sure the flowers were placed around the waist just right. And there it was, on her. She had found someone on Instagram and had copied it, like it was a Pinterest dress or something. And all she said was, "Isn't this so cute?" I called her. I asked her calmly at first what on earth she was thinking. Her answer, "You're married. You wore it. Let someone else enjoy it. It's not that deep." Not that deep? She basically ripped off the most meaningful piece of clothing I've ever owned, and she wants me to be, what, flattered? I told her flat out, if she wore that dress, I'd tell Rachel and the whole family exactly where she got it, and I'd show her up to the rehearsal dinner in the full-length white gown with a train and veil just to be extra petty. She laughed. She actually laughed and told me I was being childish. Okay, game on. So I messaged Rachel privately. I showed her the screenshots and explained everything. Made it clear I wasn't trying to stir up drama, but I felt disrespected and blindsided. Rachel, bless her, was livid on my behalf. She said Alyssa had no business pulling something like that right before someone else's wedding, and told me that she'd handle it. Ooh. A day later, Alyssa was officially uninvited from the rehearsal dinner and the pre-wedding events. Cue the meltdown. My mom called me furious. How could you do that to your sister? It's just a dress. Oh gosh, Mom, you just don't understand. She accused me of being vindictive, and I embarrassed the family, and that I'm still holding on to childhood jealousy. Mind you, this is the same person, the same woman, who let Alyssa walk all over me for decades and called it sisterly love. But here's the kicker. Alyssa showed up anyway. She wasn't invited. Rachel made that clear, but she thought she could just show up and play the victim, act surprised, say that there was a miscommunication. She showed up to the rehearsal dinner wearing the knockoff version of my dress. No shame, still smug. Rachel didn't even blink. She pulled her aside and told her to leave. Security wasn't needed, but Rachel made it very clear she wasn't welcome. Alyssa stormed out and posted some passive-aggressive nonsense on Instagram about jealous women. It's always someone posting about jealous women. And sisters who can't handle a little shine. I finally snapped and told my mom the truth. I'm tired of having to make myself small just to keep the peace. I let Alyssa copy me for years because I was told to be the bigger person. But copying my wedding dress, the one I designed in honor of my grandmother, was my line, and she bulldozed right over it. For the record, the dress wasn't just a dress. It was the one and the only things that felt mine in a family that's constantly blurred the lines between sharing and stealing. I put love, grief, and meaning into that dress. It honored someone who made me feel seen when no one else in the family did. And instead of respecting that, Alyssa treated it like an aesthetic that she could just lift for an Instagram photo. So yeah, I put my foot down for once. And now my family's acting like I'm the a-hole and that I burned the house down because I finally lit a match. So am I the a-hole for getting her uninvited? Woo! That is a lot. That was a lot. That's crazy that it went to as far as uninviting her. Now, okay, I don't think it was uninviting her from the wedding altogether. I think it was just uninviting her from the dress rehearsal and the pre-wedding events that were happening. It said pre-wedding events. So I would say she's still invited to the wedding, just not to the stuff right before it that is kind of like the fun hyping yourself up to the wedding day. Now, this is crazy. And I'm guessing she's had many talks in the past about how she's copying and how she wants her to stop, and maybe it hasn't. I don't know. This is just nuts that these girls, 27 and 24, the 24-year-old, the mom is what baffles me the most, because she's definitely taking on a favorite daughter favoritism here, and that's really hurting OP right now, because like she said, in a time when she literally, I think ever since, let's see, they're 3 years apart, so probably when she was 3 was the last time she ever had anything to herself, and the rest of the time was just stealing and sharing things. And I'm wondering if the mom kind of put that into the sister, because it's like sometimes when you have like 2 girls and you want to dress them as the same, especially the fun little same outfits they have just in bigger or smaller sizes, maybe the mom kind of planted that as like a huge identity thing for the sister, and she just thinks that her identity is, I have to either be just like my sister or even better. So I like going for her boyfriends too in the past, or exactly what she's eating. So I wonder if it is like an insecurity that this is what she's always believed that she had to be, because that's what she was like told by her mom, and OP just doesn't realize that. But either way, when you tell someone to not do it and they put it off saying, oh, you're overreacting, or it's just a dress, or you already wore it for your wedding, why can't I wear it? First of all, for something that, like, even if it's not a traditional wedding dress, but someone who made this special dress as like something for her to wear, like if it was obviously something that was made like an Amazon buy or some kind of like local I guess, local dress shop that you could buy the same exact one, that's a little different. That's a little hard. I would still think the sister needs to like ask her like, hey, I know you wore this for your wedding. It's okay if I wear the same style to like the dress rehearsal to our cousins, because it's like such a very local and common dress. That might be totally different, but this was like her own special design, and she had someone on Instagram copy it through a picture, which is crazy. So yeah, I could see how this OP being upset about that, because it's like, that's her one special thing. And yeah, so it's funny, the cousin I feel like is a little closer to OP, because she totally was livid right away and was like, don't worry, I got this handled, and uninvited her for most of the events before the wedding. So this must have been like a big deal. I must be missing something, because I just feel like it's a bigger deal with the sister. Like, she needs to, I don't know why it's not getting through her head. But when you have someone like the mom, who's like probably right behind and wanting to constantly tell her that she's right, honestly, she's never probably going to have that experience with other people telling her, like, reality wise, what the truth is. So we do have, going down to comments, someone says, not the a-hole, your sister has some serious mental issues and needs therapy. Sounds like the rest of the family as well. And OP responded, thank you. Many family members have seen her behavior and agree, but my mom is always the one to shut them down and prevent her from getting help. Yeah, that happens a lot with family. Some agree, some don't, especially your closest ones that maybe also have a problem as well. I would say this is like an identity crisis, where the sister literally doesn't feel like she doesn't know who she is or who to identify as, unless it's her sister. And like I said, it's either she's got to do exactly what her sister does, or even do better. It either has to be either one. And I think it's like we have an identity issue going on here, where she doesn't know who she is, so she's like starving for whatever OP has. So that, okay. Yeah. Someone said, this is the answer. Heck, I've cut family off for less. OP, your sister and mom are the a-hole and deserve to be cut off. Toxic people have no place in our lives, and these two are as toxic as they come. I will say, the mom acting as she is, that is pretty toxic, because I feel like if that was your childhood, I feel bad for you, OP. I really do, because that would be a miserable childhood. Always feel like your thoughts or your anything about you, it doesn't matter, because honestly, your sister could pull off the same exact thing you did, and somehow she gets credit for what you basically gave her. That would drive me nuts. So I don't believe we do have an update for this. So same 5 months ago update. Before I explain what happened, I want to say thank you for all your responses. They made me extremely validated in a place where I felt insane, silenced, etc. Thank you all very much for the love and support. I'll start by clearing up a few things people have asked in the original post. My mom and my grandma had a good relationship. Like, genuinely, they were close, and they weren't, there wasn't as much drama between them. And my dad, he's not really involved at the moment. He's been away for work and hasn't said much either way. I think he's just trying to stay out of the line of fire until he's back. My hubby is on my side, but chooses not to get involved. As for my grandma, she's passed now, but yeah, she did favor me in some ways, not in a braggy or obvious way. In public, she always treated me and Alyssa equally. If you didn't know her well, you'd never guess. But behind closed doors, it was different. She saw the way Alyssa acted, the lying, the drama, the way she always twisted things to make herself look like the victim. My grandma wasn't blind to it. She never called me out directly, probably to avoid stirring things up with my mom, but I could always tell where she stood. She saw me, she knew what I was dealing with, and even if she never said it in front of anyone, I always knew I had her support. After Alyssa showed up to the rehearsal dinner wearing a cheap knockoff of my actual wedding dress, I figured she'd feel dumb enough to back off. I was wrong. The next morning, Rachel, my cousin and the bride, called me, sounding just done. Turns out Alyssa had sent her a massive text guilt-tripping her and claiming the dress thing was just a funny misunderstanding. She said I was blowing it way out of proportion and accused me of trying to turn everyone against her because I'm, in quotes, jealous. Classic Alyssa, rewrite the story, make herself the victim, and toss me under the bus for reacting to her boundary stomping. Rachel wasn't buying any of it. She told me point blank, Alyssa was out, not just from the rehearsal or brunch, fully removed as a bridesmaid. Done. Rachel originally just uninvited her from the dinner and pre-wedding events to avoid drama, but hadn't officially dropped her from the bridal party. Okay, so she wasn't even uninvited from the wedding or the bridal party being a bridesmaid. She was just uninvited from the pre-events. That changed after Alyssa tried to manipulate her the next morning. Then she said something I didn't expect. Honestly, I'd rather have you up there doing it all than someone who makes everything a circus. Just like that, I wasn't just a bridesmaid anymore. I stepped into Alyssa's role. Her placement in the lineup, mine. Her dress fittings, mine. Her part of the speech, the behind the scenes help, her +1 slot, all reassigned. No tiptoeing, no sugarcoating, just straight up replacement. And honestly, it felt right. Alyssa found out from Instagram. Mutual friends posted photos from a last-minute bridesmaids get-together. Obviously, she wasn't in a single one. Then came the usual Alyssa meltdown, a passive-aggressive story of her unworn dress with a caption like, funny how people smile in your face and steal your place, but God sees all. I mean, okay. I didn't respond, neither did Rachel, and most of our mutuals radio silence. They've seen enough. Then came the phone calls from my mom. Furious. Again, she said I embarrassed Alyssa and that I had plenty of time to de-escalate. I reminded her calmly, honestly, that I didn't kick Alyssa out. Rachel did. I didn't start this. Alyssa did. Even though Rachel made the call, my mom always finds a way to blame me. It's easier for her than holding Alyssa accountable. And when she said you didn't have to take over all her duties, I realized I was just done. I told her I wasn't going to keep shrinking myself just to keep everyone else comfortable. I wasn't going to keep letting Alyssa bulldoze boundaries while I get blamed for having any. I went no contact with Alyssa, and for now with my mom. Blocked them on everything, not to stir up drama. I'm just tired. I want peace. Since that decision, things have been quiet. The bridal party's relaxed, Rachel's happy, no more walking on eggshells, and no more waiting for Alyssa to pull another stunt. For once, I'm not stepping aside. I'm standing right where I belong. I didn't steal her spot. She gave it up. I just finally stopped pretending that was my fault. And honestly, I think my grandma would have been proud, not just of the dress, but that I finally stood up for myself. Ooh. That's a lot. No, that's... I say good for you. You stood up for yourself. We all need that, especially when we have maybe a family member, a couple of them, that are just all over the place and running. They're walking all over you. They're manipulating you. They're making you seem like you're the bad guy when it's like, I didn't do anything wrong. You're copying me. That just, like I said, OP, if you grew up like this, I'm so sorry. You are an adult now. You have a chance to be like, I need a break from this. And if you need a break from your family and go no contact, at least low contact. If no contact for a while, but at least low contact maybe for a good chunk of the future, maybe that'll help you and maybe help them realize that, you know, you treat me like this and I'm going to walk away from this family. So, you know, good for you, OP. I'm glad that you were able to realize and stand for yourself. Okay, next story is from 10 months ago from r/Am I the A-hole, and it's titled, Am I the A-hole for not letting my husband attend his sister's wedding? So my husband, 31 male, and myself, 28 female, are expecting our first child this May of 2025. We found out very early in September 2024. We did not keep this a secret from anyone and in fact shared the news in person with his family and my family on the day we found out. During this period, my sister, 29 female, was getting to know someone and getting engaged in October 2024. It's sort of an arranged marriage, as she was set up and decided to get engaged only after 3 months of speaking to the guy. Her parents, my in-laws, my in-laws, were happy that she liked him and wanted to quickly move forward. She's been wanting to get married for the past 5 years. After the engagement party in October, there was a brief discussion of when the wedding would be. His sister had mentioned that she wanted to be married by no later than April 2025. After our initial OB visit in September, my husband had mentioned to his parents that I would not be able to travel after 34 weeks as per the doctor. His mother decided to ignore this information and not address it. His sister and mother decided to plan on having the wedding in April 2025, even though they had not booked anything. His sister's fiance lives in Texas, a 3.5 hour flight away. I briefly mentioned that I would not be able to attend in April as it would be too close to my due date, but wished them all the best in their planning. February 2025 rolls around and they decided to have the wedding this upcoming April 19th, 2025 in Texas. I tell my husband that because I will be almost 37 weeks pregnant, that we would definitely not be able to go. A month prior, during a huge fight we had, his mom had told him it's okay if I don't go, but that he would have to attend. At the time, I was not opposed to it, as I thought I would be fine. 2 weeks ago, we met with my OB and I decided to ask her for advice while he was also in the room. I asked her for confirmation that it's not a problem if he were to travel during my 37th week, and she looks at both of us and says, absolutely not. We both stare at her and shocked, and she continues and says, this would be like rolling a dice, and I would not recommend it. If something were to happen, I would not be able to slow anything down. He unenthusiastically agrees and says it's messed up that they picked a date knowing we would most likely not be able to attend. It's now almost April, and he just told his mother that we will both for sure not be able to attend. My husband and in-laws have had a huge fight, and he explains the situation, so his dad threatens that he wouldn't attend either if he's not at the wedding. What? His dad threatens that he won't go to the wedding if his son doesn't? That's not even for his wedding? I don't budge after he tells me this and calmly state that he simply cannot attend 2 weeks before my due date as we're both having this baby together. So am I the a-hole for not letting him attend his sister's wedding? And there's a quick update, but we'll go to that in a second. I think we're going to go to comments really quick. Comments are saying 37 weeks is full term. Baby is not a preemie at this point, and they do not stop labor, excepting extraordinary situations. This is literally the baby can come at any time now window, which is very true. By 36 weeks, that baby's full term, and you are expected to have this baby anytime. Like they said, they won't stop. They won't stop. They will have this baby. You will go into labor, and if you're a couple weeks early, couple weeks late, let's not say a couple weeks late, just a couple weeks early, then yeah, at this point, you can't be going to another state. I get maybe to another town for like work or something, but another state, and I don't even know how long for this wedding that he's planning to attend. So that is really crazy. They said, in fact, they don't stop labor at 35 weeks in general either. The difference is that at 37 weeks, they will assist the labor. If needed, break water, Pitocin, and all that stuff. And at 35 weeks, they will not do any of this until you hit 5 centimeters. Signed, and this is Mama 5, first at 37 weeks, second 38, third 37. So yeah, first was at 37 weeks, second was 38, third child was 37 weeks, fourth child was 36. So she had very much of a consistency to go at least 2 to 4 weeks early, it looks like, for between her babies. And my last little troublemaker, who kept trying to come from 35 weeks on, I would be in active labor for several hours. It would eventually peter out. No, not Braxton Hicks. I was on monitors and dilating. I stayed at 4-5 centimeters for 2 weeks. I would dilate to 5 in labor, but by the time the doctor would make rounds, it would stop, but I would go back to 4.5, verified by multiple nurses. Finally coming out at 37 weeks. So yeah, like her third one could have come early, but they were trying to keep it. You are already going to be 37 weeks by the time this baby comes, or by the time this wedding is arrived. So yeah, you are close. I usually around this time, like if I was pregnant around that time, that like last month, even 2 months out, I really try not to plan anything traveling. No traveling around that time. That is a very crazy time. Anything can happen, even when you're like 2 months out. What if you're premature? You're not with your regular doctor. You're gonna be having to go with like out of state or out of town, whatever areas with insurance, and then also having to go with a new doctor that you're not used to. It's just having that time around the like when you're ready to pop. It's really crucial that you have all your support system ready. So yeah. I want to say I don't see any responses from OP, but I do have that little update. So we're going to go to that really quick. So quick update. My in-laws have guilted him into rethinking his decision. I have an OB appointment 2 days before the wedding. He's now planning on booking a ticket and deciding last minute if he's going to attend the day before the wedding. He would fly out at 12 p.m. on the day of to make it in time for the main event and fly out the next morning 7 a.m. I honestly don't know how to feel about this other than disappointment and fear of abandonment in such a vulnerable stage. My worry is that if it happens, he won't make it in time because there are no flights between 6 p.m. and 7 a.m. To make myself feel better, I'm also trying to ration with myself about the likelihood of going into labor within less than 24 hours at almost 37 weeks. Thank you all for your supportive messages. It feels good knowing that others see my perspective. I will say, this is his sister's wedding, and I would be very conflicted. I would be in a bind, not knowing what to do. Even if I was the one in like with the baby and pregnant and I couldn't go, I would, if this was like my husband's, I'd be like, oh, you have to go, but this is so rough. Especially if this is your first kid, because this is like a really important time with you and your husband. Let's see. Update number 2. It's a really small one. Yes, he went. I spent the time he was away with my mom and best friend. Both decided not to attend the wedding. I did not move from the couch until he came back in fear of going into labor. His family called him on the phone nonstop until he got on a flight. I had booked him a 12:30 flight, p.m. flight, so he arrived 3 hours before the event, and he was on the 8 a.m. flight back the next day. My sisters were invited to the wedding, and they told me that he refused to sit on his family's table and that he did not speak to any of them all night. He also refused to dance or be a part of the wedding. I sent his mother a very long text explaining why I'll never forgive her and that I will carry it with me forever. He made it back, and I did actually end up getting an emergency C-sections a couple of days later. My baby is now here, and he's perfect in every way possible. Wow. Just a couple of days later, she had birth. She had to have an emergency C-section. That is so lucky that that did not happen while the husband was gone on to the wedding. And this is exactly why the OB was saying, I don't think that's a good idea. This is when the baby's coming. Anything could happen. And it's always the worst time when someone has to leave for something. So OP, oh, God bless that you were able to, like, your body was able to hold off on that emergency C-section until your husband was back and you had your support system and you had your husband. That is crazy. But I'm so happy that you had your baby, and I'm very happy for you and your family. So, okay, so our next story is from r/am I the a-hole. It's from 5 years ago. It is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting my dad to walk me down the aisle because he's in a wheelchair? I don't like the sound of that title. But let's get into it. About 3 years ago, my dad was injured in a really bad hit and run car accident. He broke just about every bone in his body and left him paralyzed from the waist down. Our relationship has always been really good, but I hate seeing him in pain and admittedly try to avoid seeing him because it just makes me uncomfortable. Oh, honey. That's your dad. Your dad doesn't deserve that. In November, I'm getting married. I've been with my fiance for 4 years, and he and my dad get on really well. Naturally, the discussion of who was going to give me away came up in the family group chat, and I kept silent after I realized my dad would be in a wheelchair. Okay. We have always talked about him giving me away and having a dance at my wedding, and I don't want to be reminded of what could have been at my wedding. I messaged my mom privately and told her I want my uncle to walk me down the aisle as we're incredibly close. She naturally asked why, and I told her that my dad being in a wheelchair would add complications to the wedding. Okay. The walkway would have to be widened to accommodate his wheelchair, and he wouldn't be able to hold my arm and give a proper hug. She was outraged. He called me an ableist POS and removed me from the group chat. My aunt has since called to tell me my dad is absolutely devastated. Am I the a-hole? Yes, you are. My gosh. That is so cruel. It makes you uncomfortable to see him in pain. Just think of him. You should not feel that way. Like, I get I don't get it. Like, maybe you're awkward when you see people in pain, but that's your dad. And if you have a good relationship with him, like, find a way. Make it possible for him to be able to still walk you down the aisle, because that would make me devastated too. The one time I could walk my daughter down the aisle, and yes, I'm in a wheelchair, but it's my one chance to do that. It's a once in a lifetime thing, and you just broke his heart in refusing him to be a part of that because you don't want to accommodate to him with him being in a wheelchair. That's just selfish, I think. That's very selfish. You just don't want to have to deal with that pain of seeing him in it. Some comments, we're going to go into it. Straight off the bat, you're the a-hole. I'm a bride in a wheelchair. You can deal with the to inconveniences because it's really not hard to accommodate a wheelchair. Definitely the a-hole. Someone underneath that says, you're the a-hole. He's been waiting your entire life for this moment, and you go, oh, you're disabled. You can't walk me down. Just put by this post alone, you seem like a horrible person, to be honest. Someone else says, you're the a-hole. You don't deserve your father. I hope your fiance realizes what kind of monster you are. Ugh. I was going to say, these people are going to come after her like crazy. Someone says, yes, you are. How dare you toss your father aside over a darn picture. See a therapist. Learn how to accept your dad's injury and seek clarity and guidance for exactly how big of an a-hole you are. You're the a-hole. Literally can't state that enough. Okay. Yeah. There is a couple of updates, little short ones. First, I appreciate all the people who have messaged me offering me support. Your kind words have meant a lot to me while rifling through a bunch of messages telling me to do horrible things to myself. I mean, okay, I will say, Reddit just comes off way too strong sometimes in this area. So, like, when they're just like, oh, yes, go hurt yourself, or you don't deserve this person. You're not a good person. You deserve to die. Yeah, that's a lot. We don't do that. That's awful. I will say, though, this person is an a-hole. And yeah, I'm going to say that you are an a-hole, OP, with this story. Because you don't want to accommodate to your own father to be able to walk you down the aisle. Like, make it fun. Make it, I don't know if it's not going to be exactly how you look. That's fine. Not everything plans out the way we want it to be. But we still roll with the punches to go through with it. Okay. Regardless of what you think of me, telling me these things isn't okay. I'm going to call my dad tomorrow. Update 2. Can people please stop messaging me such horrendous stuff? Think about what you're saying. You may not agree with me or my life, but you're just as bad as I apparently am if you're going around saying stuff like that to strangers on the internet. Okay. I feel bad that people are blasting her. I think final update. Not that I owe it to anyone, but I thought I'd give you all an update. My boyfriend and I have decided to part ways, and I've apologized to my dad. So she's not engaged anymore. She's no longer engaged in a relationship. Huh. Okay. That's interesting. I wish I knew when this was all 5 years ago, but wow, that's crazy. I wonder if this event is what made things end. Interesting. Okay. I mean, that's the end of that one. Okay. Well, guess what? We're going to go to our last story. And our last story, that was a really quick, short one. I didn't realize how short it was. Our last story is also from r/Am I the A-hole? It's from 5 years ago. And it is titled, Am I the A-hole for refusing to downsize/share my wedding because my stepsister can't afford to have her dream wedding? I don't like the sound of this one either. So me, 26 female, and my stepsister, 28 female, are both engaged and in planning stage for our respective weddings. My mom and stepdad recently invited us both for dinner, and we were discussing our plans. We were discussing our plans. I'm like having a My stepsister immediately started talking about how she was being forced to have a small wedding, 30 to 60 people, because her fiance didn't have the money to fund the type of wedding she wanted. She's always been vocal about wanting a lavish wedding. Some of the things she was saying were pretty snarky, but I chose to stay quiet because it isn't really my business. My mom pointed out how she and stepdad had a small wedding and that it wasn't about how many people were there, but that everyone you invited made the day more special. My stepsister made a sarcastic comment about how that was their second wedding and she wasn't planning to have a do-over, so it had to be perfect. My mom, who was obviously hurt by her comment, changed the topic by asking her to show her the Pinterest board I've made for the wedding. There aren't that many pictures on it yet, but it included a few photos of what I hope to be our wedding venue. My stepsister immediately asked why we need such a big venue, how it was going to be so expensive, and how we probably didn't have enough family or friends to even fill it up. It's not even that big of a venue. We're planning to have about 50 to 150 guests. I tried to be vague and said that I just liked the picture, but my stepsister kept probing me about how much it would cost to rent. I eventually told her, which then led to her asking how much our budget was. I could see that this was going to turn into a fight or her sulking, so I refused to answer and told her I wasn't sure yet. It turns out she asked my sister, who was helping me work out my budget. A few days later, if she knew how much my budget was going to be, my sister told her. She was very apologetic when she realized it led to drama. But my stepsister now has been complaining to our parents that it wasn't fair that I had so much money when she and her fiance didn't even have half of it, and that I had to downsize my wedding. Otherwise, I'd embarrass them. This is like toddler or like little kid. This is like just little kid behavior. Little kid behavior. Come on. She's also demanding that either I downsize or we share the wedding with her and her fiance getting married in the morning and us in the evening. I can't do this because my fiance and family are going to fund most of the wedding, and while we have a budget of X, I'm hoping we don't spend even close to it. I mean, that's really smart, especially keeping that for your honeymoon. That would be probably smart. Or for your house. Like either way, keep it for things that are really going to be important after the wedding. I explained to her we weren't going to even spend our full budget, and she thinks I'm now obliged to give her whatever we don't use. Oh, she and her fiance have been sending me texts daily demanding I give them the money. Even my stepdad has suggested or demanded I give her the money, and it's not fair, and has been really cold towards me whenever I visit since. Am I the a-hole for refusing? Absolutely not. You are not the a-hole. This is crazy. Like I said, the audacity of this stepsister to think that she earns whatever money you don't use for the budget. So there's only one answer to this. Use all the money on your budget for your wedding. I mean, no, you don't want to use that. And I think that's smart. If you don't want to use everything for your budget, don't use that. You save that money for other things that you can use for your home or the honeymoon or the gifts that you don't get that you could use for your house. Like, use it for better things. But I mean, I really think that's smart that you're coming up with a budget. You have an idea of what you want, but you're trying not to exceed into like all that budget or over it. So I think that's smart. The stepsister needs to realize you either wait to get married until you have more money saved up, like a lot of people do. They save up for their own weddings anymore. Or and she did say that her fiance and fiance's family were paying for this, and that's them. That's their generous like offer to do that. That has not anything to do with the stepsister because it's not her side of the family. So it's not her problem. I didn't have, as my budget for my wedding was a lot smaller than my sister's. And that was because at the time my dad had gotten a better job after I had already been married. And with my sister, he had more of some money to budget to give them kind of a bigger idea. Like she actually got like a way more expensive wedding dress than mine, and probably all the other like venues and everything that they worked with, not venues, but like I guess like vendors and everything, they kind of had more of expensive with that. I was looking for deals constantly. My mom and I literally went to a bunch of deals. We got fake flowers. We didn't even get real ones because we could rearrange them ourselves. We went to Dollar General. We went to Goodwill. I don't even know why I put Dollar General in there. My mind's on that. I think I have to go there later. That's probably why it's on my mind. But anyways, we went to Goodwill and found like some what's called milk glass, like antiques or milk glass, like some pristine areas to like hold flowers and vases and everything for just like for the centerpieces. Like for the amount of time we got married, and we only got married like within 5 to 6 months after getting engaged, so or when planning it. So when we initially started planning it, because we did get engaged like I think 9 months later we got married, but we had some things going on that we kind of had to go through and get that figured out before we started planning. So initially started planning and we had 5 to 6 months, and yeah, it wasn't like the most lavish wedding, but it was perfect for what I wanted for us. It was what we could do, and I was okay with that. I loved it. Honestly, I look back at it now and I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad with all the things we did and how quick it went that we got to prepare for it. We didn't wait longer. I'm glad we didn't wait longer. So with my sister having a big, more lavish wedding, was I a little jealous? Maybe a little in some areas, like thinking, oh, that would have been fun to have, or that would have been cool. But you know what? I was so more overjoyed with her like getting married and having to do the same things I went through, getting married, having a kid and everything. That was what I was excited for her to finally join me in that part of life. I was waiting for her to join me in that part of life. So I was so excited for her more. So this is, the stepsister is not thinking like she either can go with what she has and she can get really crafty and everything, and get really like artsy with it, get some deals out of it, be really like clever and get really smart with in the areas in the budget and the deals and the clearance areas you can go and get what you want. I mean, a lot of times we looked for things from Hobby Lobby and Michael's and all those places for like deals on decorations and flowers and centerpieces. And we kind of like thrift shopped around. Like, that's literally what we had to do. The stepsister needs to realize she either can do that or they wait longer for their wedding to be able to save up more. So no, big fat answer is you're not the a-hole, OP. So going down to the comments, not the a-hole, do not give them a dime. Their wedding isn't your responsibility. If your stepfather thinks they should have more money for their wedding, let him figure it out. Not your circus, not your monkeys. Edit. Oh, never mind. Someone underneath that said, someone needs to tell the stepsister that life isn't fair and someone will always have more than you. Be happy for what you have, because there is always going to be someone with less than you too. I mean, that is true. Like I literally just said, my sister had more for her wedding. And yet I was okay with what we had because it was what we could do at the time. And I was just happy how it went. I was just happy. So I will say, like, this stepsister really needs to figure out, I think, the reality of life, because, and the audacity for the fiance to also be asking money from the stepsisters, from OP and his family, to be like, hey, you're not using this money, give it to us. Like, the audacity for the fiance to go along with this. So obviously this fiance and stepsister really do belong together because they both are audacious for thinking this way. So, and the stepfather, like, the mom's not getting along, the stepfather's getting mad. I don't know. This is just entitled thinking, entitlement right here, and I don't like that. But this is what happens with these stories, especially with wedding stories. I feel like the huge entitlement that we see through weddings, it's crazy. And I feel like weddings these days anymore, they're all about show. They're not about the true meaning of it, which is you just want to marry your best friend. And yeah, we're making it a joyous celebration, focusing on you and your spouse or your spouse to be. But people now, it's more like the aesthetic of things. They get really crazy about how things aren't going to look proper or look the way they want them to look. And sometimes you just you need to relax and have fun with it. This is like one of the most important things of your life, and make it fun and memorable. Don't make it stressful. And yes, weddings can be stressful because you have to plan it in a way. But yeah, I will say, like, if you want it to be a great wedding, don't stress about it and take some time. Do some DIY items that you can do with, like, making a group, like, with your girlfriends or your bridesmaids. Like, hey, every month, let's get together, or every other week, before my wedding, and let's do a project for my wedding so I have things ready. Make it fun. So yeah, that's literally it for that story. It's just like, no. And the consensus was that OP was not the a-hole, which thank goodness, because that was just crazy. But those were the stories I have for you guys. Those were my wedding episode. And I'll have more of them because, like I said, I have so many. And I didn't realize, I thought I was going to get through a lot more, but with all the updates we had for some of them, that took a lot longer than I expected. So I still have a big chunk of them in a folder that I could go through later for another episode. So who knows, maybe it'll come sooner than later, but yeah, our plans are moving along with trying to make this hopefully video in the future for you guys to see. You get to see our lovely faces. Hopefully I don't break the camera. No. No. I'm excited to put my face so you guys can, like, at least see me. Because literally I use my hands. I'm literally using them right now. I use my hands constantly. So I would hopefully be like maybe a little bit of good entertainment for you guys there. But either way, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. If you guys ever have any suggestions for any stories that you like, or that a story that you've read, or any subreddits that you think are like really great, share them my way. My email address, the Reddit Randos @gmail.com. You can send them that way. Either way, like, subscribe, follow, do what you can. If you're new to this, join on in. If you're not, still join in the cause, because I definitely need you guys. You guys are my group, my support. You guys are, I don't even want to say fans. You're my randomites. That's what you guys are. You're my randomites. You're my people underneath this podcast. So yeah, like, subscribe, follow. Otherwise, I don't have nothing else to say. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Stay warm. It's cold out there for you guys in the Midwest. So don't get too cold, because that negative weather is not fun. I'm staying inside. But have a good one. Goodbye.